Hello everyone, this is Jason Merkle with Horizon Hobby, and we're out at the park today to show you guys something very exciting. This is the all-new E-flite UMX Citation Longitude, or the longer name is the Cessna Citation Longitude. So yes, this is a Cessna, maybe not quite the Cessna that a lot of people are used to seeing and are more familiar with, but for many, many years now, Cessna has produced a wide range of business and private jets. And this is really their latest and greatest. So this is a super mid-size class jet, and this went into service last year. So again, this is the Citation Longitude. The full-scale model, or full-scale aircraft, has a ton of capability, 5,500 nautical miles, or 3,500 nautical miles of range, 550 mile per hour top speed. If you guys look at the pictures of the interior, it's luxurious to the nth degree. It's a pretty amazing aircraft in full-scale form. We did work with Cessna to license this, so that way all of us who dream about flying on one, and probably won't, get a chance to now potentially own and fly a model of our own. So you guys can see we've got a relatively scaled planform all the way around. Again, licensed officially by Cessna because it looks the part. We also put one of their licensed trim schemes on it. So this is actually a paint job that you can see in the photos of the full scale on their website in particular. And it's really exciting because it is an ultra micro class model, which means that you can fly it in more places, smaller spaces. We're at a pretty big park here today. If you're a skilled pilot, you can potentially fly this in a space as small as one soccer field, maybe two soccer fields very comfortably. Less experienced pilots might need a little bit more space, but we're going to show you guys some takeoffs and landings on the parking lot here with the wheels installed. We'll remove the landing gear and then we'll go fly it on the grass, so be sure to stick around toward the end of the video. We'll do some hand launches and belly landings on the grass. But what's really cool about this is it's not only unique and interesting subject matter. Personally, I'm a big fan of airliners, private jets, and this is our very first ever private jet in the E-flite lineup, and it's also our first, obviously, in an ultra micro size. But what's also cool about it is we have almost all new electronics inside. So we've got a new control unit, which has the new Spectrum chip, which does offer some telemetry information. So we've got voltage of the battery. We actually have the RPM in the motor, the current draw. So you can set up alerts for that if you have a capable transmitter, so a usually generation 2 or 3 Spectrum transmitter that's been updated with the latest firmware. You'll get that telemetry data, which is really cool. You can set up some voice alerts or beep alerts based on different voltages and things like that. And then in addition to that, we also have all new power systems. So some may be familiar with a lot of our UMX EDFs that we've had over the years, including the MiG-15 or the A-10. Those use 28mm diameter fans. This is 30mm diameter fans, so we went up just a little bit in diameter, and then we also went from 2S compatible motors to 3S compatible motors. So this airplane is stunning performance, guys. You're gonna see that in the video today. It's got great speed, great vertical. It has really good flight time if you throttle back, above average for an EDF. It's just got a lot of things going on for it, guys. It not only looks awesome, but it flies awesome too. And then on top of all of the different things that we've added to make it higher performance, we've also done things to step it up in the scale and functional feature realm for a UMX model. So some really cool features, for example, we got a little antenna here on the hatch, which is made out of plastic to make it nice and durable. We've got very nice and durable plastic winglets here. So those actually extend over onto the bottom of the wing. We've got, of course, carbon spars in the wing. We've got carbon spars in the nose to make it all strong. We have lights, which I'll show you guys here in a minute when I plug in the battery. We also have a full flying stab, which is really, really cool. And then a nice little feature that the guys worked on for a bit was to get these nice chromed out inlet rings here. It's just a nice touch. It really does look the part, guys, on the ground and in the air. Again, I mentioned earlier that we do have removable landing gear. So there are slots that you can just pop the landing gear out of. And then it depends on, the surface that you're flying over, if you want to do takeoffs and landings on smooth surfaces with the landing gear installed. It does have a steerable nose wheel. The main gear, of course, also pop out. So again, we're gonna show that later in the video, some hand launches and some belly landings. It looks awesome without the landing gear installed. Get a little more performance without the landing gear installed, but with it on there, it's a lot of fun to just kind of taxi around, to shoot some really nice smooth takeoffs, some really nice smooth high alpha landings. But what's also cool is it has so much power, and hopefully we'll show you guys one of these takeoffs in the videos. You can do a really high performance takeoff in almost no space at all, and then pretty much pull straight up vertical. It's pretty darn impressive. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug in the battery. I am using a DX8 transmitter today. All you need for this is a minimum of 5-channel transmitter. You don't need anything more than 5 to 6 channels because it is a 4-channel aircraft. So we've got, of course, throttle control. We've got elevator, rudder with the steerable nose wheel. We have ailerons. We don't have flaps and we don't have retracts because it's a UMX model. We have to be careful. We have to look at and weigh the options of the cost, complexity, weight, so on and so forth. The weight is well under 250 grams. So I think it's about 188 grams ready to fly with a 3-cell battery. And so I do have the 3-cell 800 milliamp E-flite battery installed in here now. You guys can see pretty darn big battery compartment with magnetic attached hatch here. These 3-cell batteries, we do just use a standard JST connector, so nothing out of the ordinary there. A lot of guys will have these batteries from models like the E-flite Mini Convergence or the V22 VTOL, or if you're a Blade helicopter guy, maybe a 230S. So again, 3-cell 800. You could probably fly it with as low as say a 600 or all up to 1,000, depending on the weight and the size of the pack and whether or not it fits in the compartment. And of course, you have to adjust it for the CG. There is some room you can move the battery up under the front of the hatch here, and then also you can move it back a little bit further if needed as well. So a lot of cool features there. And then this, like all of our ultra micro aircraft, it is a bind and fly basic airplane out of the box. So it does have a Spectrum receiver built in. That Spectrum receiver does have AS3X and optional use Safe Select. And then, as is the case for almost all of our ultra micro models, Safe Select is pre-assigned on the gear channel. So this switch back here is turning Safe Select on and off. Now you can assign that to a different switch. For example, I do personally prefer B, so a lot of times I'll move it to that myself. And then it does not have flaps, and so you don't have to worry about using the 6-channel for anything along those lines. It does, again, have Safe Select. For those that are unfamiliar, Safe Select is bank angle limits and pinch angle limits, so you can't get the airplane upside down, and when you let go of the stick, it goes back to level, which is very, very helpful if you're a low-time pilot, or maybe you're flying in really gusty, windy conditions and you're not sure about keeping the wings level on approach. It also makes hand launching a lot easier, so Safe Select is a great feature to have even if you're an experienced pilot. But we do call it Safe Select because, again, you can turn it on and off with the switch if you so choose. So on top of that, again, we have AS3X, which really smooths things out, makes it really locked in. I hope you guys can see in the video just how locked in it is, not only at high speeds, but then also at low speeds. And there's a little bit of a breeze here today. It's not too bad, but that said, AS3X really kind of keeps things locked into where it feels like you're flying a much bigger airplane. And so real quick, because I know some guys are going to ask, is this a first airplane? No. You should not learn to fly on an airplane like this. You definitely have to learn to fly a trainer first. Is it a good first EDF jet? I would say no. Our recommendation is that you learn to fly on a different, less complex EDF first, something like the UMX MiG-15, or also then the 64mm F-15, and then maybe something a little more complex, but also a great first jet is the Viper 70mm. If you can fly any of those EDFs, you can easily handle this. The reason we don't recommend it as a first EDF is, although it's easy to fly, relatively speaking, and it does have Safe Select, it is twin, it is fast, it is somewhat small, so it can get away from you pretty quickly if you're not a very experienced pilot, you're not capable of keeping it nearby. So that said, let's go ahead and fly this thing. So I'm going to taxi out here in the parking lot. Oh, by the way, you guys can hopefully see now we've got the full complement of navigation lights, and we've got beacons. There's landing lights on the belly. You guys might even be able to see that. It's a little bit cloudy out here today, so hopefully while it's in the air you'll see that. And again, we've got that full flying horizontal stab there and a steerable nose wheel. So I'll taxi down just a little bit. So for this first takeoff, I'll try to keep it somewhat scale and a little bit more longer and drawn out. But again, because of the performance this airplane has, how much power it has, how much speed and vertical it has, you can do very high performance takeoffs at very short distances. So here we go. Do a nice smooth takeoff. That's about 2/3 throttle for what it's worth. So not even full throttle to get into the air. And so yeah, 2/3 throttle, it has plenty of performance, plenty of speed. So I'll just kind of keep it at that for now, so you guys can see the general handling. I really love the plan form of private jets and airliners in particular. They just have that unique look to them and feel. You do some nice scale-ish low-end flying here. And again, we're flying over a soccer field, which for a skilled pilot, not a problem to fly it in one soccer field or two for sure. I'm gonna slow it down a little bit more, show you guys a little bit more of the lower speed handling. So what's pretty cool is now I'm down at about half throttle, which is a very manageable airspeed for most people. You guys can see that. Not moving terribly fast. But even at half throttle, I can actually loop and roll this airplane, no problem. So here's half throttle, I'm gonna do a loop. No problem. Little roll here. Certainly wouldn't hurt to have more power for loops and rolls, and we'll get to that here in a minute, but I just wanted you guys to see kind of how nice and easy you can fly this airplane. I can actually slow it down a little bit more, so I'm actually a little less than half power now. I'm probably close to 1/3 power. Having to add a little bit of elevator to keep the nose up, but you can also see how kind of smooth it is. Even at this low speed, you can keep it down low, adding a little bit of rudder to make my turns coordinated to get the nose around. So no problem to fly it slow, smooth, scale. But where it gets really exciting is at full power. I'm gonna punch the power now. You guys can see it pick up speed. I'm gonna pull vertical. Look at that vertical, guys. Unfreaking believable. Not for only for an EDF in general, but also for a UMX EDF. I'm gonna come by and do a fast pass quick. Oh, it's just so locked in. Yeah, it's no slouch. I've got high rates on right now, and it's a little hot on the aileron and elevator. Some guys might prefer a lower rate for that. But you can pull big loops, throttle off on the backside a little bit, bring the power back on. And then something that's pretty darn cool is because it's got that full flying stab in the plan form, if I pull up about 45 degrees and I put the sticks in the corner, I can do pretty cool snaps. It's just pretty wild what it can do.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
And of course, being a 4-channel aircraft, it's capable of almost all the 4 acrobatics you'd expect. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some inverted flying here. No problem. And then of course we can do big slow rolls and point rolls. A little bit of a slow roll there. I'll come back by and do a point roll the other direction. And then I'm going to show you guys something kind of fun. You can actually do knife edge. Hopefully you guys can see that in the video here. Look at that. Knife edge with a UMX business private jet. Pretty darn cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set it up for a land now. Land back in the on it. Oh yeah, I love the way it looks up there in the sky. So I've got the power off here on approach, but I am going to bring the throttle back in just a little bit and fly it down with some power to make it nice and smooth and scale-like. Bounced a little bit on the not so smooth surface here. And now what I'm going to show you guys is a high performance takeoff. Show you just how much power it's got. And then we'll do another landing, of course. So a combination of the full flying stab and full power, I'm gonna pull full up and it's gonna be off the ground in almost no time at all. And look at that, pull straight vertical. On takeoff, an ultra micro EDF with almost unlimited vertical performance. It's pretty darn impressive. Do another fast flyby here and then we'll set it up for another landing.
20 seconds.
Love it. Oh, it's just so much fun. Pretty darn wide flight envelope, easy handling, unique look.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
And look at that vertical. So cool.
time expired.
All right. Go ahead and set it up for another landing. I love it. This is an airplane that I'm definitely going to be shooting a lot of touch and goes with when I've got the landing gear installed. But again, at the same time, guys, you can remove the landing gear and you can do some hand launches and belly landings. So be sure to check that out here in a minute. But there you have it, E-flite UMX Citation Longitude. Hello again, everybody. It's Jason Merkle from Horizon Hobby, and I'm here now with the UMX Citation Longitude, and we took the landing gear off. We did some takeoffs and landings earlier. You guys might have seen that in the earlier part of the video where we took off and landed in the parking lot. But now we took the gear off. It looks awesome with the gear off. You get a little more performance with the gear off. Of course, that does then require you to hand launch and then to belly land on the grass. So nice thing is it does lend itself pretty darn well. It's got kind of this bulb on the belly here, and it does handle the grass pretty darn smooth. And the nice thing about it is that it does have safe select. So if you're not terribly comfortable hand launching, it doesn't hurt to hand launch in safe. And then you have a couple options. One, you can overhand launch, or what I've also done is I've done some underhand launching. Now, both methods have their pluses and minuses. The big thing to keep in mind is that you do kind of need to keep the nose up and the power pretty high to get it up into the air. Otherwise, because of the thrust line of the airplane, it will tend to push down a little bit. So again, either hand launch with the nose slightly up, or even when you're underhand launching, nose slightly up, which it might be a little bit counterintuitive to what you know from other airplanes in the past, but that will work better with Safe Select on, and then also even with Safe Select off. So I am gonna go ahead and launch with Safe Select on because it is something that helps in general. So I'm gonna turn safe on. You guys can see now when I bank the airplane over, the aileron tries to counteract that, so we can see that safe is active. We've got a little bit of a breeze coming from left to right here. And again, I'm gonna go to full throttle. I'm gonna hold the nose up just a little bit, and you may see it pitch down a little bit, and that's partly because of the thrust line. So it's something to keep in mind when you're doing your first hand launch. Alrighty, here we go. No problem. Kept the nose up a little bit. I'm gonna throttle back some, bring it back by, get it level, and now I'm gonna turn safe off. So now safe is off. I'll just do a little bit of flying. I really love the way it looks with the landing gear off. Of course, most airplanes look better with no wheels hanging down. I'm gonna fly it around at about half throttle. Keep it close by and smooth. Use a little bit of rudder to keep the turns coordinated to bring that nose around. You guys may see it's getting a little breezy now, so it's bouncing around a little bit in the wind, but AS3X is helping to smooth things out a lot for us. I'm gonna throttle back a little more and fly it even a little bit slower. So now I'm at about a third power. You guys can see, even at that relatively low throttle setting, relatively low airspeed, the airplane's hanging in there no problem. And I'm not sure if you guys can see this in the video, but I'm basically keeping it within one soccer field at the moment. But now I'm gonna turn the power up a little bit, back closer to half. And the nice thing is right around half throttle, you can still perform a lot of aerobatics. So I'm gonna bring it back around here into the wind, and I'm at half throttle, and I'm just gonna pull into a loop. No problem. I'll put it into a roll after that. Yeah, a couple rolls. No problem. Turn it back around. So even though it's a jet, you don't have to fly it fast. And even though it is a business/private jet, you don't necessarily have to fly at scale if you don't want to. So for fun, I'm just gonna go ahead and bring up the throttle all the way. Wow, it's moving. It is really impressive how fast this airplane is for an ultra-micro model. Also amazing just how locked in it is. It's so locked in. And the vertical is just fantastic. It'll just keep going. Bring it over the top, throttle back a little bit, add the power, come ripping by. Yes, gotta love that. And you guys might have seen earlier in the video as well, we did other aerobatics, including some inverted flight, which it can do no problem. And you don't have to do this at full throttle either. You can do this at part throttle setting as well. Half throttle or more is probably good for the inverted flying, because you do need to have a little bit of down elevator pressure to keep it from pitching down. Combination of things, the airfoil, the wing, the incidence, thrust line, CG, all those things come into play. Of course, it wasn't necessarily made to fly inverted, but it can do it, no problem. And then one of the core things that I found it can do is knife edge, which is pretty darn cool for a private jet. Look at that knife edge, no problem. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set it up and land it quick here in the grass, and then I'm gonna show you guys an underhand launch as an alternative to that overhand launch. And whenever you're landing on grass, it's important. You want to keep the nose up, but you don't want to stall it. There you go. So that is a good example of a good belly landing. I kept the nose up a little bit. I didn't bleed off energy until I was really close to the ground though, and then I got a nice smooth touchdown. So now I'm gonna go grab it and we'll do an underhand launch really quick. So we just finished a quick flight. We still have the same battery installed, but I want to show you guys an underhand launch instead as an alternative to an overhand. Might be better for some people, may not be. Again, pluses and minuses either way. One of the downsides to underhand launching, if you're not careful, your arm can hit the rudder, the fin, the horizontal stab, so you need to make sure to extend properly when you're launching it. I am going to go ahead and launch with safe, and then I'll land again and I'll launch it without safe so you guys can see the way it looks without it. But again, I'm going to keep the nose up a bit, and I'm going to do it at full throttle. And then after I make about a half lap around the field, I'll switch back out of safe select and land it really quick. So here we go. And you guys can see where I'm grabbing it approximately in front of the nacelles here. There's a little bit of a breeze, always of course launch into the wind. And I'm gonna keep the nose up a little bit and it'll kind of come up and level off, partly because I've got safe on. Pull up a little bit. I'm gonna bring it back around. And once it's back to level again, I'm gonna turn off safe. So now safe is off. You guys can tell safe is off because I can do loop. No problem. Boy, it just looks really cool doing loops. So I'll do a quick landing here and then I'll show you an overhand launch without safe on. So again, landing on grass, you wanna keep the nose up, but you don't wanna stall out. There you go. All right, let's do a quick overhand launch. I'm gonna turn safe off. So now I've got safe off. And again, I'm gonna show you, keep the nose up a little bit, that's important. And it wouldn't hurt to add a little bit of up trim during your launch. If you do add up trim, you have to keep in mind, then you may have to add some down trim while you're flying. So something to keep in mind. So I'm gonna go ahead for the heck of it, I'm gonna add a couple of clicks of up. And again, I'm gonna launch it full throttle with the nose up about roughly 15 degrees. And you'll see it'll still kind of pitch down a little bit. That's the inherent nature of this model because it's got a relatively high thrust line. But once you're up on step, no problem. Alrighty, here we go. Safe is off, nose is up a little bit. Not bad at all. So again, I did add a little bit of up trim. And so now at full throttle, it's gonna climb a bit. Yeah, so I'd have to take that up trim back out. Let's go ahead and land it. Not bad.
That was amazing.
Tons of fun, guys. You really got to get one.